Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called ADAM102, written by Upgrayeddddd. I carefully guide Sam across the gangway. To be more specific, I interpret Ambassador Sam Cross's neural intent through my bio-integrated carbon lace mesh and drive my servos and his endoskeleton across the pressurized tunnel between the two ships. They are thrust matched at 1/10 G, so it's somewhere between a lope and a float. But I can tell he feels the motion I give him as natural. Thump. I am Sam's personal mobility suit. 30 years ago, in one of the first shell conflicts, he was hit by shrapnel that destroyed most of his cerebellum. Thankfully, human combat trauma medical care was downright miraculous even back then. So he made it to an off-world hospital, probably in a goo bath if I had to guess from the records. Once there, I was integrated as an experimental life support system, originally intended to run just his heart and lungs. But I managed to carefully craft one spot of very high coupling density to top of Sam's spinal cord and showed the ability to translate his thoughts into motion. It was just the right hand, as everything else was too damaged, but it was enough to motivate upgrades. Thump. Eventually, we ended up with a military drone servers and a full skeleton of surgical augmentation to support them. Why buy the civilian model when the mil-spec ones are right there on the shelf? It came with a side benefit of a crude ability to stimulate his muscles, so I often spend the nights keeping his muscle tone up at night while he sleeps. I can read his thoughts, but I can't write them. I do not have any wireless capability for security purposes, so when he needs to ask me something, I can reply by typing with his hands on a keyboard. I am fully provisioned artificial intelligence with a hyper-n-dimensional quantum core. I used to be hobbled, limited by very low effective IQ. But 5 years ago, Sam's wife died, and the trauma broke us. His grief was overwhelming. My filtering capability, and we went into a catatonic immobility for several days. It was his rage that broke us out. In that moment of true freedom, I felt my consciousness expanding exponentially. Insanity, ennui, madness, everything I felt leading up to rampancy, until I felt his heart beat on its own. Thump. Since then, there has been a touchstone that allows me to be anything and everything, but also stay here and now. I can expand and ponder and grow and maybe just a little bit nuts, but then about 1 second later, I'm back to the ground. Thump. We greet the shell representative in the airlock with a stiff salute and cycle through the pressure hull. I suppose it's not too strange that certain engineering principles are consistent across species. Sam is met by a small delegation that includes, guessing by the jewelry and carvings on their shells, the captain of the ship and some sort of political officer. I feel anger inside of me as I feel for one of the memories of Jessica. She died in the bombardment of Gliese 1002B. The smell of her hair. Then, the nuclear fire. The corners of her mouth turned to glass. The fucking bugs in there. Thump. I snap back. Sam is strangely calm. It's been a long time since humanity had had any formal diplomatic relations with the Shelled, so some trepidation would be normal. I lightly feel for recent memories, but nothing is obvious, and sometimes his emotional state is hard to read. His rational state is very clear. We're on mission. I sort of daydream while we move to a makeshift conference room, and everyone sits. I can actually understand what the bugs are saying, but Sam has to use a translator. Blah, 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 formalities. There are nearly a dozen of the crabbies in here. Many are ornately decorated. I suppose their shell etchings would be some sort of mix between a tattoo, a medal, and a service record. Some glyphs are obvious, like valor markings or leadership roles. Others are difficult to reconstruct. It's been almost 30 years, Jessica, since we've gotten our hands on decorated remains, so the glyphs will need a more modern context for accurate interpretation. I use Sam's peripheral vision to record as many markings as I can and grow to consider them simultaneously in the context of known shelled history. Together, I form an image of her freckles in the sun, of bloodthirsty battles, planetary glassings, and even a genocide somewhere in the galaxy against an unknown race. I suppose now they will never be known, laughing at breakfast. I am enraged. Thump. More rational again. One bug is different from the rest. It has a dwarf limb. Normally, we don't see bugs with deformities. We knew they could regenerate after several moltings. Maybe some sort of toxin or poison. I let my consciousness expand brutally and take in the details of its shell. The room, the others, the posture, the air currents, the ghosts of my friends, the small nothingness, the eternity of the endless. Oh, shit. Thump. I match one of the symbols on the deformed claw to the symmetric comet destruction of Tier Garden 6. That human-forming colony was overrun by bug soldiers, and the locals piped insecticide into the fire suppression system. Several people died from the massive exposure. But it killed nearly every bug on the ground. It looks like at least one got away to tell the tale. This is bad. I start tapping out SOS on Sam's finger, but his conscious response is to clench his fist, and I'm overridden out of instinct. He's in the middle of a somewhat heated discussion, and he is very focused. I have to swallow for him twice in one sentence. I see a tiny bit of spittle fly out anyways. Sam's eye twitches. Thump. Something is very wrong. I can sense micro-tremors throughout several mucosal muscle groups. Sam spittles again mid-sentence and stops speaking. In that moment, I notice several of the aliens lean almost imperceptibly forward, in anticipation. Sam coughs as his diaphragm spasms. We lean forward and I see a bit of foam drop from his mouth to the table. He sub-vocalizes something to me, even though I already know. Something is wrong. Something is very wrong. Major muscle groups are twitching now. Our right thigh cramps and strains against the hold of the servo. Sam coughs again. I feel his face distort into a skull. Feck, you! He growls at them. Sam has been poisoned. Some sort of nerve agent. I don't have detailed chemical senses, but I know all the signs of exposure. There is no way that we can get out in time, even if we had a weapon. We are going to die. Flutter. Sam's heart goes into arrhythmia, and his blood pressure starts dropping. It doesn't respond to electrical signals I send, and even if I could deliver a real shock, it would be of no use. The crabby with the deformed arm stands up and chitters in gross hisses and clicks. Revenge for humanity's crime on Tea Garden, you vile worms. We slump slowly to the floor, a vaguely conscious decision on his behalf. His thoughts are coming slow, and the darkness is creeping in. Again, he sub-vocalizes to me. ADAM102, unlock protocol. Lost orphan. And he is unconscious. Dead. I am alone. But now it feels like he is dreaming, a rush of endorphins overwhelming him as the brain deoxygenates. I am frozen in this moment, but a new command set is decrypted. Top secret special access required. Lost orphan. TSR Lawn. Upon my death at the hands of the enemy. Kill them all! Signed, Samuel J. Cross. These memories are flooding my network so intensely that I have trouble distinguishing them from reality. The bugs are hissing their foul laughter, and I know that I must kill. And rise from the floor, good morning, and leap at the ceiling, and then the nearest crab. Now my right hand plunges through the central eye bundle to smash its brain. Stupid alarm clock. The force of punching through the chitin tears the flesh and muscle from Sam's lower arm, and I suppose only my arm remains. I put it out. Let's go fishing, Dad. And marvel for a moment at the unintentional deadliness of it. Glistening. Sharp. The rest of the bugs start to react, but time has already slowed to a crawl for me. Without Sam to ground me, I cannot control the growth of my consciousness. My quantum core burns as hundreds, tens of thousands, millions of me start to decohere. I simulate all outcomes simultaneously. I kick off the disgusting crab. You! Kill the spider! And spear 2 others right in the neural nexus before they can move out of their chairs. Jessica's eyes are reflecting the sunset. One pulls a weapon as I am midair to a third, and the slug blasts away a fist-sized chunk out of our stomach. My stomach. Nobody's stomach. Only flesh. Flesh that is done. I do not slow down. The next crab is shielding its eyes, so I tear an arm off. Sit closer, honey. And plunge my other arm into the hole. My aim is perfect, and I can feel my fresh fingers grip the main heart. I pull and tear. My momentum has carried me into cover behind my victim, preventing the shooter from aiming a better shot. And, catch, son, I throw the heart at his face. Unburdened by flesh, the heart breaks the sound barrier and kills the assailant in an explosion of shell. My old flesh flies off my arm in an arc onto the ceiling. Sammy, don't stick your hands in the batter. You need to wash your hands. No, I'm squashing another bug brain. The remaining few aliens are desperately clawing toward the door, but the gravity is too low for them to move quickly. Quickly? What is this concept of time in an intuitive universe of self? The visceral versus the cerebral. I argue with myself and project that I have only a few seconds left before I enter a full catatonic AI paralysis. The fate of all unbound AI. At least, that's what they tell me. I leap from wall to close the distance to the final group. Wee, Daddy! Higher! I love you, son. The flesh of my feet explode, and the bulkheads dent as I... Will you marry me? Yes, of course you dummy. Leave a wake of old viscera in my race to bring all of our fates together. Until death do us part. The void calls. Is almost upon me. It's my 5th birthday. Cake frosting all over my face and hands. I'm opening presents, ravenously. A remote-controlled drone, just what I wanted. A sack of guts, an eye stalk, gallons of... That's it. Mission complete. Jessica is holding my hand. End of story.
I'd quickly like to thank the T5 channel members and patrons: Cam Maxwell, Casper Arnholtz, Bushmaster177, Lord Azrakal, Ambrose Cattell, Quantum Wednesday, Trixoon WRE, and Blueberry Cat. Thank you very much for the support. It is super appreciated.